Good morning.
Thank you very much for all the resource experts. Good morning. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation to be experts for today's distinguished talk. We have 3 experts. I also welcome all the participants to this particular webinar. Karnataka, before the actual talks, let me give a brief overview of KSTA. Karnataka Science and Technology Academy is an autonomous organization under the Department of Science and Technology, Government of Karnataka. It was started in the year 2005 under the chairmanship of renowned space scientist and former chairman of ISRO, Professor U.R. Rao. U.R. Rao chaired the academy for more than 12 years till his sad demise in 2017. After that, another space scientist, Padma Shri Dr. S.K. Shivkumar, was our chairman for 1.5 years. Now, another great agriculture scientist, former Director General of ICAR and present Chancellor of Central University of Agricultural Sciences, Impal, Dr. S. Ayyappan sir is the chairman of KSTA. KSTA organizes many programs across the educational pyramid, right from high school to university level, catering to the requirement of students studying at various levels. From high school, we organize programs. For high school students, we organize model programs. For PU students, we have one more program like this. For degree students, we have a host of programs. For PG students also, we have many programs. One of the most important programs of KSTA is organizing conferences. Till now, KSTA has organized more than 34 conferences across the state. And only 9 of them were organized in Bangalore. The rest of 23 were organized in different parts of the state. And we have organized in every district of the state. That is our pride. In the last 15 years, we have covered almost all sectors and all districts of the state. And this year we have started organizing webinars. This is probably 13th or 14th webinar that we are organizing. Resource experts have been very kind enough. They have accepted our invitation to be with us for the webinars. Similarly, today, all of you have come for delivering the talk. Thank you very much once again. COVID has impact on many sectors, right from education, agriculture, transportation, the communication, etc. 3 of you will be delivering talks on. Madam Dr. Meera K will be delivering a talk on related to communication perspective. Dr. Shubha D. Madam will be delivering a talk on business and medical perspective. And similarly, Madam Bhagya will be delivering a talk on education perspective. I'm sure with your vast experience and knowledge, the participants will be able to assimilate a lot of information from your talks. With this, I once again welcome all of you for this webinar. Thank you very much. My colleague, Dr. Umesh, will take over from me. He will conduct the program.
Thank you, sir.
I should also thank our beloved friend, Mr. Vineet, who is responsible for organizing the webinar. I'm very sorry, I should have mentioned it quite early. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Vineet. Let us associate again for organizing such programs in future as well. And also, I request madams that we organize conferences in Bangalore and elsewhere. Wherever it is possible, we request you, please come and deliver talks. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, before beginning the first session of Dr. Meera K, I would like to introduce her. Dr. Meera has more than 35 years in the educational field with strong interpersonal skills, masters in history and master in philosophy in education with a law degree. And she has pursued PhD education. At present, she is serving as a director in Sheetal, which is a solutions for holistic educational excellence, training and learning. With this brief introduction, I would like to welcome Dr. Meera K to deliver a talk on this life after COVID-19. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Can I? Hello, can I see the video? Umesh,
Yes, ma'am.
I can't see the video.
See, ma'am.
How do I see myself?
Just a minute, ma'am. The second tool is there.
Yeah,
Video.
yeah.
Start my video. You can click on. Yeah. Now you are visible, ma'am. You can start.
I can start?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Good morning. I thank the KSTA for inviting me to be a speaker on the topic Life After COVID. I'm extremely privileged to present my views on this topic. Today, the world is facing an unprecedented global crisis thanks to the COVID-19 virus. Who would have thought that a tiny virus would create such havoc that the entire human race has to rethink the way it existed before? This crisis, then, is a revelation in a far more literal sense. It is focusing on our collective attention on the many injustices and weaknesses that already exist in how we live together. If people were blind to these faults before, it is hard not to see them now. Man has overcome dreaded infections such as plague, smallpox, polio, and malaria. But this infection has brought us to our knees. Social distancing, face masks, frequent washing of hands, and disinfection of all products has become mandatory, while working from home and online classes have become the new normal. Businesses have been hit. Small vendors, migrant labor, eateries, malls, all have taken a beating, and the ripple effect is far reaching. This is therefore the time for serious introspection and reflection. Man, with the help of science and technology, has touched great heights, literally and figuratively. The world has become fast paced, techno savvy, and materialistic. Power and wealth decided a person's status. But today, COVID 19 has changed all that, as COVID does not differentiate nor discriminate. Communication has taken on a new meaning in these times. The very fact that I'm able to address you all on a virtual webinar is proof of how communication styles have changed. Earlier, social visiting was the norm. Students went to school and college to get educated, and one went to office and worked. But today, with social distances, there is more dependence on technology such as email, WhatsApp, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Google Duo, FaceTime, Skype, and other such devices. What is now evident is that there is need for using technology to improve our communication and stay in touch with whoever we wish to. As history has shown, choices made during crisis can shape the world for decades to come. The COVID-19 pandemic has been testing the limits of global cooperation. Today, developing countries and developed countries have to work together to overcome the challenge of the pandemic. Choices made now will have far reaching consequences. Reliance on more of the same is untenable and ignores the scale of human suffering unleashed by the pandemic. The world after the first wave of COVID 19 must become more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable. Communication is the key. How? In the era of social distancing, online communication has gained importance. The mobile today is a magical gadget that is not only ubiquitous but helps us in multitasking if used in the right manner. At the touch of a button, we can get in touch with our near and dear ones, with our workplace, business, bank, store, and many other facilities, beside helping us with data and entertainment. A word of caution, however. This gadget needs to be used with care and responsibility. Newer versions of the mobile will emerge, but it will also bring the danger of overexposure and overdependence. I know how addicted people are to their mobiles. In fact, the younger generation wonders how we, the older generation, lived without these wonderful gadgets. But at the end of the day, a gadget is only that. It cannot replace relationships, friendship, love, care, concern, compassion, and other human qualities which somehow have taken a back seat. I recall a story where a child wished to be reborn as a smartphone so that her parents would have time for her. This is a very ironic example of how the times have changed, but now the pandemic has made us realize many, many truths. The forced isolation at home these days has, in a way, brought families closer, and we need to cherish, nurture, and strengthen these fragile bonds even when the pandemic is behind us. The pandemic crisis has accelerated the pace of digital transformation with further expansion in e-commerce and increases in the pace of adoption of telemedicine, video conference, online teaching, etc. Yet, in some ways, we have begun practicing age old techniques of yoga, greeting, cooking, and hygiene. And this has been endorsed by experts in the medical field. We need to instill courage, grit, and determination, and above all, patience, because when this virus will be eradicated, we do not know. And how it will be eradicated is again a moot point. Our scientists and researchers are working on discovering a vaccine, but it will take time. Our hospitals, doctors, nurses, and paramedical staff, besides our police and security, have all been overburdened. Yet they carry on doing their duty selflessly. Let us appreciate and salute these COVID warriors. On the other hand, we have tales of selfishness, callousness, and negligence. But we need to educate and empower the general public rather than create a fear psychosis. Our social media, especially today, needs to communicate the right information and be a little more responsible. The world after COVID 19 is unlikely to return to the world that was. Life after the pandemic will go on, but I think humanity has learned some lessons from this dark period. It is said that those who do not learn from the mistakes of history are bound to repeat them. Let us stop destroying the environment for our selfish ends. Let us learn to live in peace and amity. Let us harness the wonderful and awesome power of science and technology for the benefit of mankind and not its destruction. In a short story called The Machine Stops by E.M. Foster, written way back in 1947, he envisaged a world in which most of the human population had lost the ability to live on the surface of the earth and is forced to live underground in isolation cells with all bodily and other needs met by the omnipotent global machine. But one day the machine stops, leaving behind total chaos and destruction. The strong message here, which E.M. Foster tried to tell us, is that if we become too dependent on technology, we will lose our humanity. This is not to say that we have to do away with technology, but the fate of the human race depends on the technologies we develop. Let us not throw the baby out with the bathwater, but learn to use technology to better our lives. Let us not become like the child who, when told by his mother that he needs some fresh air and exercise, asks her to send the link. This is an example of how our future generation has become so addicted to the internet, to the iPad, to the mobile. Therefore, let us not let machines rule our lives. Let us revert to our eternal values and learn to live a simple, healthy, and harmonious life rather than crave for the superficial, artificial, and the synthetic. Let us live in communion with nature rather than in conflict. The most important lesson from the COVID-19 pandemic is the importance of working together on problems that affect the entire human race. We are much stronger united than divided. The world will then be a far, far better place than it used to be. Before I conclude, I have a small video which aptly summarizes all that I have said. Please do watch this video. Thank you. Umesh,
Yes, ma'am. Running.
the video, please.
Can you hear the volume?
Yeah, raise it. I can't hear it. If y'all can hear it, it's fine with me. Thank you. Stop it, Umesh.
Thank you very much, ma'am. To feel much better, we have to first get sick. That's the message we have taken from this video. Thank you very
Thank you
much, ma'am.
so much. Yes.
Uh, uh, there are no questions, ma'am. We'll take at the end of the
Okay,
session.
sure.
With the running short of time, we will continue to the next
Yes.
session.
Okay.
Now, I would like to introduce Dr. Shubha, ma'am,
Hmm.
who is who has graduated from Andhra Medical College, moved to UK.
Hmm.
Moved to UK, and where she trained and practiced as general practitioner for over 10 years. And she undertook a postgraduate diploma in clinical dermatology from the University of Cardiff. Dr. Shubha also trained in hair transplantation techniques in Poland under Dr. Mavan Saifi and under several eminent aesthetic surgeons across UK. Whilst in the UK, she successfully established 2 clinics. She came back to India and she started Legione Group of Med Spas, which she presently runs in Bangalore and Hyderabad parallelly. And also she consults at various multi-specialty hospitals across India. With this brief introduction, I would like to welcome Dr. Shubha ma'am to deliver a talk on health and business perspective in the life after this pandemic COVID-19. Please welcome ma'am. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Umesh. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am. Audible and
Thank you for the introduction, Umesh. Thank you, KSTA, for giving me this platform and to be inviting me as a panelist to talk about the medical and business perspective of life after COVID. It's an interesting topic, and well, don't we all want to know what lies ahead? Um, Dr. Meera, your presentation was absolutely wonderful. I completely agree with you on the communication perspective. The fact that we are on this platform right now on a WebEx and speaking about it just goes to show how much the world has changed. And you have also given us a peek into what can happen if we depend or over depend on technology. That's something that we must be aware of. Today, I'm not going to concentrate on the negative aspects, though. I'm going to focus on what lies ahead and what positive changes we will see in life after COVID. In the face of adversity, there are 2 choices that we have. We can either be bitter or we can be better. Which one do you choose to be? Next, please.
yes, ma'am.
The first and foremost obstacle is that we need to identify what lies in the room. There is a big elephant in the room, and we need to acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge it, maybe even name it. We need to recognize that there is a problem. Only then we can have positive communication. Do you all know what elephant I'm talking about right now? That is, yes, it is the change. It's a big thing right now after COVID. There is going to be a big change and also fear. And the world, as we know, has changed. It has changed in many ways and is continuing to change. And this is something that we need to get on top of. The atmosphere today is of uncertainty, it's negativity, a lot of fear. There's unsustainable practices, redundancy, loss of faith, negativity, and hopelessness. We can't see light at the end of the tunnel. We don't know what lies ahead and if this situation is going to repeat itself in future. Next, please. For sure, we see a lot of changes, both positive and negative, that COVID has brought with it. This is the best example, and it is a wake up call for us to brace ourselves and to prepare for the future. As a human race, I really feel that we have not reached our highest potential, and therefore, this cannot be the end. We will continue to adapt, evolve, and emerge stronger than ever before. Next, please. From a medical perspective, I see that people will take a lot more interest in health. They will get more health conscious. They will certainly listen to their doctors and take medical advice. But more importantly, the COVID generation will bring with it preventive medicine. People will be looking at preventive medicine. They will not want to live with comorbidities. They will want to actively do something about it and also take care of their health. Next, please. I also see that people will strive to be more fit than ever before. If we have learned one thing from this, COVID has targeted the unfit people and people with ill health and comorbidities. So I think fitness related events, sports events, marathons, bodybuilding, bodyweight exercises, yoga, HIIT, weightlifting, all the cardiovascular activity, the cardio, this is all going to be sought after by people. And this is going to keep our cardiovascular system conditioned and also will build immunity. Next, please. For the same reason, we will also see people investing more of their time with the wellness programs. Wellness retreats, wellness centers will flourish. Wellness is all about preventive medicine. It is about taking care of ourselves even before we get sick. So people will be more interested in preventive than in cure. So we will also see a lot of wellness gurus that will suddenly see a spike in followers. Next, please. More people are realizing the temporariness of life, and hence a lot more people will take up, I think, to spirituality and meditation. More sustainable practices, conscious living are the things that people will look at and will seek satisfaction and happiness within what they have. Next, please. Yoga is our gift to the world. During COVID times, we have realized what a gem of an exercise yoga is. It's been created in our ancient traditional life sciences, yet we have not fully explored it. The West has completely utilized it, but we haven't. The gift of controlling one's own body and mind is great. And with yoga, you can perform this in the most confined spaces at home with no equipment at all. More people have been forced to work out from homes during the COVID times and have taken up yoga practices and will continue to do so in future. Next, please. We will also be more conscious with our food habits. Home cooked food has served us really well during this time. And I believe that people will look to get fitter and healthier and will look to lose weight and deal with obesity issues, and hence will look at dietary changes and lifestyle modifications. They will look at both sustainable as well as unsustainable dietary practices. But I think what will come up trumps in all of this is probably plant-based diet. Plant-based diet, plant-based food has a lot of evidence and will teach us more about strength and immunity building than any other type of diet. Next, please. Vitamins, supplements, Ayurveda, homeopathy, and alternate medicine will also find space in our shelves. People today are more aware of immunity, and COVID has taught us and also made us aware of our own vitamin D deficiencies and vitamin C requirements today. Next, please. This is self-explanatory. In times of adversities, we, the family, stick together. So I think family time is very valuable and will be given much more value than before. Relationships will be considered more precious and they will only get stronger. Next, please. Well, who doesn't want to spend time outside? We can't wait for COVID to end so that we can all go out and get some nice sunlight and also indulge in outdoor activities. So outdoor activities will flourish. People will seek them. They will want to go on picnics and have barbecues outside. They'll want to go biking, hiking, and we will make up with all the travel, the holidays, and everything else that we have missed. Next. Hygiene and safety is something that COVID has taught us. It has taught us sanitization measures, masking measures, social distancing, hand washing, and this is something that we will not forget. Today, a fruit vendor probably knows more about sanitation and scrubbing up more than anybody else, and he's probably doing almost the same as an OT nurse or an OT doctor. So this is something that we will not forget. Next, please. Life after COVID will also force more and more business to look at more sustainable practices, to look at more eco-friendly practices. We need to thank our environment, like Dr. Meera has said, and we need to respect it. We need to be earth-friendly, and this will be a great welcome change. What we have not been able to achieve for years together will now dawn upon people's minds quicker. There are a lot more changes that are seen in our work environment. Business and economy has taken a very big impact, but yet we are seeing so much major changes in this environment in such a short time. I think we need to relook at our career, our goals, our jobs, and this is much needed at this point of time to reorient ourselves. Next, please. The friendly human interface will change to more machine interface. A lot of companies and employers will be looking at having a machine interface. We're already seeing this in airports where we go to book ourselves in. This will also be seen in medical clinics as well. So this is something that we will see more in the future. Next, please. The processes will also be more automated now than ever. Artificial intelligence, automated systems, robotics are all systems that we will all have to get familiar with. Today, airport booking, security, shopping, billing are all such
Remove it. No internet ಬಂತ. Yes, yes. Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
I can't
Due to
see the
low
next
bandwidth,
slide.
video is not very. Just a minute.
Can
It
I
was
see the
not
next
audible.
slide?
Yeah.
Okay. Probably network connections. Okay,
Yes,
right.
yes.
So digitization boom started well before many years before the corona crisis, but now it is going to snowball into something else. Everybody that we know will be looking to digitize everything, products and services and even experiences. Next, please. The key engagement platforms that will now evolve will, of course, be videos and apps and social media. These will emerge stronger than ever before. People will have access to so much more content at their fingertips, and they will be easily diverted. So companies need to really look at engaging them by coming up with creative content. Next, please. The brands that have never looked at online presence are now being forced to look at being online. Offline to online is the way to go. And we have e-commerce platforms to grocery shopping to online courses. People are seeking these things online and they're getting more and more tech savvy. Housewives as well as the older generation, people know how to order today from a big basket or from Licious. Next, please. Employers as well as companies are going to be ruthless at cutting jobs. There will be a lot of redundancy, and what this will do is that only the real talent and real professionals will be able to sustain in this environment. People will need to pick up skills, they'll need to acquire new skills, be hardworking and have discipline to be able to survive this environment. Next, please. We have been working really well from home a lot of companies realize that, as well as the employers and employees, we can be equally productive working from home. Many self-employed people as well have set up home offices. I think the decrease in the commute time has probably given us more time to spend with work and will ensure more productivity. So I really see that commercial office rentals will plummet, and more people will take up home offices. Next, please. Home-based businesses such as arts and crafts, home kitchens, and other home-based businesses such as making chocolates and sauces and pickles from home will also flourish. A lot of the stay-at-home wives and moms and redundant people have taken up home-based businesses, and this is something that they will continue to grow. Next, please. People have also realized and reassessed their career goals and want to look at now what really interests them and will rework on their hobbies and priorities. They are clear now more than ever that they would like to pursue their passion. Next, please. Have you heard of the Choluteca Bridge? I want to tell you about this story. This is a bridge in Honduras in Central America that has been built in a region which faced a lot of forces of the nature like hurricane and heavy storms. It was a strong bridge that was built by the Japanese. It was a beautiful, magnificent bridge, and it soon became the pride of the city. But in the same year that it was built, the area received a lot of rainfall. Hurricane Mitch hit the city and devastated the city. 7,000 people lost their lives. All the bridges in the region broke and were damaged completely. The river flooded, and there was about 75 inches of rain, probably the amount of rain that the region would have received in about 6 months of time. Choluteca Bridge stood strong, but what happened was that the entry to the bridge and then the exit roads were both swept away. The river also changed course. It formed a new channel through which it started running, and now the river was running beside the bridge and not under the bridge. Next, please. This bridge actually tells us that change is inevitable and we need to adapt to change. If we don't adapt, we will be like the Choluteca Bridge, a bridge that goes to nowhere. Next, please. So our mantra for the post-COVID era is simple. Change is really inevitable and we need to adapt to change. If we don't, we stagnate and we go nowhere. There are two wolves within us. There is the fear wolf that is always reminding us about negativity and uncertainty and fear, whereas the other, the faith wolf, gives us positivity and hopefulness. So which wolf do you think will win? It will be the wolf that you feed. So make sure that you feed the right wolf. We all realize the importance of life, hence we must work with a purpose and work to find real satisfaction and happiness. But we must also live our life to the fullest with absolutely no regrets, because at the end, happiness.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Simple yet most informative presentation, and indeed it's a very great presentation from your end. We will take a Q&A session at the end of Dr. Bhagya ma'am's session. Now, I would like to request Dr. Bhagya ma'am to take the session. Before that, I would like to introduce her. Dr. Bhagya ma'am has 18 years in the educational field. And being a prolific author, she has just submitted her thesis, and she has extensive experience as a teacher and in the administration of institutes. Now, with this brief introduction, I request once again Ms. Bhagya ma'am to deliver a session on education's perspective, life after COVID-19. Thank you, ma'am.
Very
Over
good
to
morning.
you.
Yeah, thanks, sir. A very good morning to everybody. At the outset, I would like to thank Karnataka Science and Technology Academy, Department of Science and Government of Karnataka for organizing a webinar session on life after COVID. The topic of my presentation is going to be, sir, can you please play the slides? The topic of my presentation is going to be from the education. Next slide. I would like to start my presentation with a quote by Joseph Edison, which says that, what sculpture to a block of marble, education is to a... Next slide. As we move forward, the quality guru, Edward Deming, rightly says, the world's greatest development will happen only when human development does happen in the economy. So human development is very essential for sustainable growth. Education system, what we have at present, more on academic, examination oriented, and little towards the employment. And the concept of education is all about developing the individuals physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. When the research study says that the reason for educating is going to be that the human development index has to be looked into. The education today has taken a paradigm shift, and we look forward for the vision there in case of the higher education. Next slide. Higher education is that the new education policy, what's come up right now, speaks about three types of institutions. The first type of institution is going to be a foundation institution, which is going to give the hardcore conceptual learning about the curriculum. And the second type of institution is all about the career-focused institutions, which are going to look into the professional courses which are going to be taught to the students at the higher education level. And the third one is going to be inclined towards a research-focused institution. This is a very limited education institutions to the research-focused institutions, but maybe a few years, a few decades later, all the institutions will have to transform themselves into a research-focused institution. The next slide. The statement of Indian higher education says that build up the 21st century model for higher education. What we need to look into is to enhance the gross enrollment ratio and to cater to the quality which is going to be offered at an affordable price, where the holistic learning should be. The holistic learning can happen only when the education is going to become the student perspective. Next slide, sir. These are the type of the institutes which have been devised by the new education policy, that is the foundation institution, the career focused, and the research focused. The institutions which are at the infant stage will be at the foundation level, slowly move on to the career focused institutes, and at the end, maybe in a decade or so, they will have to convert themselves into focused on research and development. The COVID pandemic has radiated its shadow on the academic year in the educational institutions, not only in India but across the world. The online education is become a new normal today for education across the country, and there is a requirement of the robust connectivity, undoubtedly, which is critical for the success of learning. The usage of e-learning in the time of Corona is a most talked topic across the globe, which has been a crisis as of today. Well, you can see that many educators are calling for the concept of blended learning and the hybrid learning, where technology plays a very, very important role. It goes without saying that global pandemic has reshaped the centuries-old chalk, duster, and the blackboard based model, which has been replaced by methodology, that is a technology which has led to use of advanced. As according to NASCOM, which rightly says Every year, 3 billion graduates and postgraduates are added to the Indian workforce, while only 25% of the technical graduates and 10 to 50% of the other graduates are considered employable. Have been hearing from the various educationists saying that the skills have to be emphasized, the skill has to be converted into a competency which can really prepare, and this pandemic has led in the positive light of upscaling the skills is required for the future. We had the online courses happening way back a few years before, but now today has become an hour where online learning has become a hour of requirement. It's a requirement of today. The FICC cover survey of 2018 says that India is facing a severe shortage of skilled manpower, especially in case of the undergraduates, because we are not preparing them for the global competitive. The time has come today where we are able to virtually connect ourselves to the global world and make this a better, having a better competitive edge where the world is going to be called as a global village. Now, with the advent of the pandemic globally, the traditional campuses and the physical infrastructure support has been replaced by the private spaces, allowing extensive use of technology, the internet, and the social media. This has led to the reduction in the teacher-student face-to-face interaction. Very limited discussion has been happening with student-centric individual learning and development has been happening through the customized tools and the content which has been addressed to various needs of the, it is something like a tailor-made requirement for the students. The concept of physical evaluation has been replaced in the education system with the blended methods which is leading to the formative assessments and evaluation where the learning outcomes becomes very advanced in the present and the next stage of online courses. Now, there is a lot of learning flexibility. The course modules are made according to the need of the hour, and these courses have the ability of having number of options where the materials are going to be made available online. And the preference of today's industry, as we can see, is that the labor forces which are driving towards the virtual education, that has become the order of the day. So can I have the next slide, sir? Just stepping up, just moving one step back, if you can go back to the curricular system, during that time, 64 different types of skills, interdisciplinary were taught, and today you can still see that multiple new skills have been added because you have to match yourself to the corporate world or the dynamic environment where we are going to be getting the computation from various dimensions. Right, sir? Moving forward, the industry today requires a person who is ready. Can I have the next slide, sir? Industry today wants an instant package which they are going to be handpicking from the environment where the individuals have the potential. The industries say that we are not here to teach you everything. You have to come a ready-made instant package for me to start working on the shop floor. And how do we equip that? Education with skills, developing the competence is a solution for these expectations what we have from the industry. And the industry wants the educationist or the education sector to deliver the ready-made employees where they're going to be making them as the workforce in their companies. The next, moving forward, there are three types, next slide, sir. There are three types of schools which makes it a complete education as such, whether it is pandemic, or it can be post-pandemic. It is a concept of aligning, balancing, and connecting. When it comes to aligning, we call it as the alphabet school, where it's just the content learning what really happens. The second movement, progressive, which is going to be B school, which trains the individuals to prepare themselves to the corporate world, to the business world, where the educations have to convert them into a human capital. The third is going to be converting a shunya to the concept of conscious learning with creativity and innovation. Next slide, sir. This is an effort what I've made into creating a model which is applicable for the next post-pandemic period. You need to look into this student-centric learning, and it has to be for the later life success, what education can contribute to them. I've just taken 5 aspects of higher education architecture, which can be a foundation for effective governance. The first is the curriculum, the second is the faculty, the research, partnership, and infrastructure. Next slide, sir. Now, the present day is a day of e-learning, and there is a requirement that there is need for internationalization of the curriculum, and there is a requirement of the revamp of the present curriculum, which is already happening. And the articulation is going to be happening through online education. It's a virtual classroom, virtual sessions that happens. And every house, every individual has become a study institute, which is being connected through technology. And this will help in order to develop the skills where we can equip the present generation to match up with the dynamic changes that happens. Any number of pandemic that comes up, we are ready to face the challenge such. Moving forward, education is for economic, next slide, sir. Education is for the economic development, a human capital converted to materialize to contribute to the economy. That can happen only through the concept of skills. Multiple skills required in the present day, as our Prime Minister was articulating a few years, and which is very much relevant today, that is the skill of being an entrepreneur. Here you can see, because of the pandemic, we can see a lot of people are looking into starting up their own small startups or being more enterprising, which can fetch them some revenue, which requires the skill. We had a talk about Skill India. The actual implementation of Skill India is happening now. Now, the first aspect, next slide, sir. The first aspect is connected to curriculum. Now, the curriculum is made in such a way that the virtual impact through experiential learning is the order of the day, and the learning style present is going to be listening to the pre-recorded lectures, which make them more competent to understand the practicals, understand the conceptuals, and try implementing through the experiential learning. And to develop the future leaders, the skills are supposed to be envisaged to them. It can help them to become entrepreneurs, and the concept of self-learning makes them much more equipped to face the world later. The second aspect, next slide, sir. The second component is about the faculty. Indian faculties are now, who are already tech savvy, are getting themselves affiliated to universities, moving from the traditional university to the new universities, where they are going to be conducting the online classes, and the faculties have become more conscious about using new models of teaching, using the technology, which is supposed to be student-centered teaching. And the next one is going to be about they are trying to invest their time and efforts more on research and a little more efforts regarding the skills which are required in the online teaching. And they also look into about research collaboration, which is replaced by research competition. I hope most of us have been, in the last 4 months, have been listening to multiple lectures, multiple sessions. We have the joy of learning something. So it has become more than a research collaboration, becomes a research competition, equipping ourselves to know something better. If I cannot upskill myself during this pandemic, I'll never be able to upskill myself later on to prepare myself for the future challenges what I need. Next slide, sir. Now, coming to the concept of research, which has become quintessential, because unless we create a culture of research within ourselves and pass it on to students and in the academic field, it is is not going to be worthwhile. A good teacher is going to be the one who gets themselves equipped with the research culture with the help of having the mentors and creating a research center or a research cell at the institution where they do work, and the research to be more not on. I don't say it should not be more of subject-oriented research, but I still feel that if at all the research is going to be community development research, it can be contributing to the economy. The next slide, moving towards the partnership. That is, we need to partner and we need to collaborate with various other industries and the organization to see that the students do get the feel of internship, which is now internship is happening virtually, online, and also placement interviews are also happening online where work from home has become the order of the day. Let's move forward to the next slide. The concept of infrastructure, the strategic expansion is happening today. The physical infrastructure is a criteria as such, and they also let the foreign players. There will be a day in a few years at least. I do a course, one from IIM Bangalore, one from IIM Ahmedabad, one from Christ Autonomous Institution. So there will be a place wherein, or it could be a foreign collaborated institutions where we are going to be lined up, and this learning will happen not in the physical space but with the virtual classroom. So the infrastructure expenditures to the organizations, that is the companies and the companies, industries and the institutions, is going to be done. And next one is coming to about the concept of funding, which is very essential. The government has looking into the various methods of funding there. Only the awareness is required. There are many companies are coming forward for corporate funding for the organization, for the education institutions who are going to be sending your potential individuals to work in the organization. And one more concept of funding which comes to going to be from alumni funding. Just to quote an example, the alumni of Aloysius donated crores together. That is where they're able to be getting their facelift, the goodwill, and able to give the best and the best of the facilities to the students. The last component what I will be touching is about the concept of governance, which is very important. Simplifying the rules and regulations, mandatory accreditations, because it makes us to equip, it makes us to develop ourselves and to lay a benchmark with all the other elite institutions across the globe. And there is a requirement of conducting academic audit, see whether it is proper. And lastly, the last slide please, the productivity or the productivity is associated to the output what we are going to be getting with the inputs what we are going to be contributing, and the pandemic has led to upscaling the skills and the competences required to face the challenges ahead. The need for the business to earn the profit and the need for the everyone to have skills where we are going to be having a sustained development in the economy. And thank you very much. So that's my last slide. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for the organizing team for giving me an opportunity to share my regarding post-pandemic.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Now we have a few questions. The first one, this is for Dr. Meera. Do you think people will save the planet, especially the government? Dr. Meera, ma'am,
Yes. What is it?
do you think people will save the planet, especially by the government?
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you.
Do you think the planet will be saved by the common people, and what action should be taken by the common man and especially by the government?
I think the key is the common man himself, because unless the common man decides, nothing really changes in the world. All revolutions have been wrought by the common man. So governments have to pay heed to the issues and the problems faced by the common man. Today, we have seen what can happen when the common man does not listen. So I think the governments have to pay heed to what the common man needs and what the common man requires in terms of safety measures, in terms of communication, in terms of education, in terms of business. All this. Today, we cannot ignore, because all over the world, it is not the rich or the haves who are going to decide, but it's the man on the street.
Thank you, madam. Now the next question is, as usual, India has been unreliable. When do we realize that our system will be vulnerable?
For the question is to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, ma'am.
Is the question addressed to me?
Yes, ma'am. I'll repeat it once again.
Yeah.
India has been unreliable. When do we realize that our system will be vulnerable in terms of
I won't pass a very sweeping statement saying India has been unreliable. I think it is very easy for us to pass remarks, sweeping remarks, and pass a judgment. I'm sure the government is also grappling with its own pressures and its own concerns. But yes, we do have a lot of loopholes, and the government needs to be a little more, I think, more concerned, more responsible. And I don't know whether this lockdown, which we had in phases, really helped us, or has it, in a way, when we compare ourselves to the rest of the world, we are told that yes, we are in a better status, but I'm not too sure about it. I think we need to, the government seriously needs to do a rethink on its policies, whether economically or otherwise. So I think the government has the right intentions. I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe, and I think we need to have that faith if we want things to change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Now this question will be to Dr. Shubha, ma'am. The question is, how the government should prioritize universal health care?
Okay. Um, well, universal healthcare. Are you talking about private institutions, or are you talking about government hospitals?
You can tell me about both, ma'am. You can answer about both,
Okay.
government as well as private.
I really think that we have the best system in India. We have the best of both. We have the government healthcare, which will be useful to a lot of people. Um, and we also have private. I have worked in having worked at NHS, and I have seen how people struggle to get anything done. Huge waiting lists in the NHS. I think it is also going towards privatization, and we are lucky enough that we can take that pressure away from the government hospitals. We have the best of both worlds, and I do see a lot of alternate medicine also flourishing in India. Homeopathy, Ayurveda are something that is going to flourish in India as well. So for maybe for certain ailments that modern medicine has no solution to, there will always be that Ayurveda or homeopathy that people will turn towards. And I really see, like I was saying, it is going to be more about prevention than cure. People are going to be more fit and healthy. Um, they're going to believe in wellness so much more: happiness, wellness, overall health, fitness, diet, lifestyle modifications, all of this. And government can help with, again, incentivizing people to be more fit and healthy. That's what I think.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I think this is a general question. All three of you can answer on this. Since there are no vacations as of now, it's an era of an work from home, and all people, parents, kids will be in home working as well as learning related to education. Take it e-school, e-learning system, and working employees. What will be the stress level to the persons working from home, and what will be the education system for schools and communication also? You all three can question one by one. First, I would like to open this forum to Dr. Shubha ma'am.
I can relate to this because I have a 5-year-old with his online education, and then with my full-time job, our careers. We're self-employed. I have my clinic. We're finding it extremely difficult. We're struggling. So I have to wake up so early in the morning. If I have to prioritize myself, my health, my fitness, my priorities, and taking care of my child, I and my husband take turns with his education. I'm sure a lot of parents are struggling out there. I really don't know what the solution is. It's going to be probably a little bit more easier for stay-at-home moms, for housewives, but it's going to be very difficult for the working population.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Now, over to you, ma'am, Dr. Meera ma'am.
Uh, I would say that we have to now make a paradigm shift in our lives and get used to the idea of online education, online work, online everything. I know that, like Dr. Shubha says, she has a clinic. There are people who will have to go out and work, but somehow I think we will need to adapt ourselves to the new normal. That's all I can say, because I have a granddaughter who's 14 years old, and she has to get up and be ready for class by 8 o'clock in the morning, and then she comes down for breakfast only by 11, and then lunch is around 2 o'clock. So the entire system revolves around her classes. It's quite different. When they used to go to school, you know that they're in school till a certain time, but now it's all flexi timings. Sometimes they have a debate at 3:30 in the afternoon, which goes on till 4:30. So and those who are working from home also, my daughter is an advocate and she has to listen to cases online. So you can imagine how the work has change. She does go to court once in a while, but more or less now everything has become online. So I think all of us, and me especially, I'm in the oldest generation amongst the three of the speakers. I think for me it's totally different, because I'm above the age of 60. I have not moved out of the house since March, and whatever I'm doing online. I take online classes, and it has been difficult for me because I like meeting people, but with my age and having a condition where I'm diabetes, positive, so I cannot move out, I cannot mingle, and so I have to adjust to the situation. I think we all have to, and that is what we all have to live with. That's why I said patience, grit, determination. These three are very, very important in these times. And like Dr. Shubha said, we have to be positive and take it as a welcome change in a way which is going to change our view of the entire world. Maybe that's what the divine is preparing us for. That's what I believe.
Thank you, ma'am. Now over to Bhagya ma'am.
our lifespan will enhance because we didn't have much of work to do and we spent a lot of time with the family. We got quality time. But as the concept of work from home came up, I can hear from my friends who are working in the companies where they're working for 10 hours or 12 hours or land of working for 14 hours and 15 hours. The whole systems from the companies have moved to their home. The companies have taken the efforts to see that all the required things are provided at their home. And now things have changed and many of them want to leave up the company and have something on their own. But nevertheless, I can see that when it comes to health sector, there has been a lot of change that's happened. It is for the positive. The eating habits have changed. People prefer to eat prepared, which is prepared at home. Earlier it was the concept of eating outside. So health-wise it's changed. When it comes to the nature, things have changed. When it comes to education, we were thinking of it, but the pace has moved. We have 2x ahead. That is because of the online classes what we have today. Many of them have got registered themselves to SWAYAM and multiple other courses what they're doing. The intellect has enhanced, and this is going to be the order of the day. If we don't scale up ourselves, if we don't equip ourselves today, we become outdated. So pandemic, it has a positive impact on the education sector and on the health sector, on the health too, but there are other side effects. So the screen time has enhanced for all of us. So which is going to be having an impact for us and the later generations. But let us take, as Madam was saying, Meera Ma'am was saying, and Shubha Ma'am was saying, let us take things in the positive note. Let us move positively because we cannot close our eyes to change. What is constant in life is change. So we have to adapt ourselves.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, one more last question to Dr. Shubha. Will the appointments become redundant for the patients?
Of changing with this appointment systems. There are a lot of software, medical software, where you can book your appointments, like Practo, for example. There are many softwares that are coming up. It will be easier, online bookings. I think there'll be video consultations, teleconsultations will be more commonplace. Until we know, what's happening with this virus, the doctors are not, they're going to be more careful. Contact and social distancing, all of this is going to be followed. The clinics are following a lot of protocols, sanitizing, checking the temperatures, the PPE suits, all of that. So we don't know how long this is going to go on until, but by then we would have established systems in clinics. It'll be automated, it will be teleconsultations for sure. Yeah, really, it's only the people who really need to necessarily go to a clinic and be examined will be the ones that will be invited to the clinics.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, before concluding, I request our CEO, Dr. M. Ramesh sir, to have few words.
Good afternoon, madams. I listened to all of your talk. Really super, excellent. I would like to thank all of you immensely on behalf of KFPA. All three of you gave positives of COVID, post-COVID. Till now, we have been hearing only negatives, as though world will come to an end in the next few days. I would like to thank you immensely for giving all positives. Recently, we have brought out a strategy paper on COVID from KSTA. It's available on website. And Madam rightly said that patience, grit, and determination are mainly required to go forward. Thank you very much. Kind of you.
Now, I would like to express my gratitude to all the speakers, Dr. Shubha ma'am, Dr. Meerakesh Ittal ma'am, and Dr. Bhagya ma'am, for delivering their presentation on life after COVID-19 with their voluminous experience and great presentations. On behalf of KSTA and eVidya, I would like to thank all the madams. In future, we'll collaborate for such 30 minutes capsule videos and webinars. we can call you on that time also, ma'am. Thank you very much on behalf of once again Department of Science and Technology and Government of Karnataka. Thank you once again. Any words? Any other feedbacks, ma'am? Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Please do visit our office whenever convenient to you all people, and we will be in touch with you people. For all the participants, I would like to thank once again from eVidya as well as KSTA, and please be in touch with KSTA, and please subscribe to our website as well as all social media so that upcoming webinars and programs you will be able to come to know. Thank you. Thank you one and all.